I made this recipe the other night and I was so excited to share it with you guys because it was insanely delicious, incredibly delicious. And I went to go edit the video and there was no sound. So we're gonna make it again. And fortunately, now I feel like I'm an expert at this recipe. Round 2, you guys get it this time. Now, because of the fact that I have already made these, I'm only gonna be making a small recipe just to show these to you guys. But the last time that I made them, I made 6 of these potato bacon roses, and it was not enough for our family. We wished we had like 30 of them. Last time when I made these, I used yellow potatoes, which I would do again, except that I used them all for the recipe that had no sound. So we're gonna use some red potatoes this time. You can use a mandolin slicer if you have that, but you just wanna slice into little, I don't know, 1/4 inch or so slices. Ooh, I cannot keep my knife straight today. So I don't use the little ends here just because they're too small to do what I want them to do. Definitely, if you're gonna make a bunch of these, use a slicer if you have it. I mean, this isn't hard by any means, but just, you're gonna get really even slices. You're gonna be able to slice them really fast all at one time. Okay, add these potatoes to a mixing bowl. I'm gonna drizzle with a little bit of avocado oil. And you really don't need much. It's just kind of helping the spices that we're gonna put on here stick to it and helping the roses not stick to the muffin tin. You guys will see that in a minute. Let's add a little bit of salt because remember, potatoes really don't have much flavor until you bring out that natural flavor with a little bit of salt. You can definitely add garlic powder and onion powder to this. And then I'm also gonna add some rosemary. Now my measurements are a little off because I'm only making 2 of these. So I'll leave it in the description box so you have the exact amounts. And then we've got some thyme. Add in some thyme, so good. This is one of my favorite flavors. Toss these in those spices. It's actually probably easier just to do this with your hands. Okay, I'm only gonna be using 2 of my muffin cups, so I'm gonna spray 2 of them really well. And what I found last time is you don't get a lot of sticking, but there is some residue that you have to work on a little bit. So that's really what the spray is for, helping hopefully with that. All right, here is my bacon. We'll open up this package and we're only gonna be using 2 slices, but you need 1 slice per rose that you're making. This would be so perfect at a really beautiful Thanksgiving table. I mean, it's perfect for any night just for dinner, but I think that this is such a great option for a Thanksgiving side or for a nice Christmas dinner or something like that, just because they're gorgeous when you finish these, okay? It's weird to say that about bacon and potatoes, but just trust me on that. Okay, so we're taking a nice piece of bacon here and I'm gonna pull on it a bit. Some bacon is easier to stretch, this one might not be, but just pull on it just a bit and stretch. Okay, so we're gonna lay the pieces of potato on top of the bacon, overlapping a little bit. You wanna get some overlap. But you don't wanna go all the way to the end of the bacon. Let me get some larger slices here. So you wanna leave a little bit at the end there. Let me add one here. And then we are going to roll, okay? So you just roll, 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 all the way to the end. Okay, it creates this little cup, and then you pop that into your muffin tin. Okay, round 2. Let's do 2 of these. It already looks so pretty. I actually might like it better with the red potatoes because it's like the color of a red rose. So we'll see. We'll see what that ends up like. When we sat down to dinner, we were all fighting over, so everybody got 1 on their plate and then we were all fighting over who was gonna get the other 2. And I think we just ended up splitting it between all of us, the 2, but definitely should have made more. Now my oven is currently preheated to 400 degrees. We're gonna bake these for 20 minutes uncovered. Then we're gonna put a little bit of foil over them and go for 30 more minutes. So they do take a little bit of time, but just trust me on this. The outcome is so worth it. That 20-minute timer just went off, so I'm just gonna cover lightly with foil. Basically, the reason you're doing that is because you don't want these edges to get burnt. I also don't want my fingers to get burnt. Now this can go back in for about 30 minutes. Right after I take these out of the pan, I like to set them on a paper towel just to let any extra grease drain out of it. These looked really pretty last time because I had them on a nice serving platter. This one fell apart a little as I was taking it out. Top with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. You can grate it and I feel like it does look even prettier. I just add a little bit of green. The cool thing about these is, yeah, they look really pretty, but they also taste so good, so good. The bacon gets nice and crispy, and that potato has a little bit of crispiness on the top, but it's perfectly cooked on the inside. Y'all, it is so good. I'm telling you, you have to try these because the flavors are phenomenal. I went ahead and peeled some carrots so that they would be ready to go. Now, ones that are smaller like these, I'm gonna leave whole and we're just setting them on a foil-lined baking sheet. Ones that are a little larger, I'm gonna cut. Actually, this one is super fat, so I'm gonna cut it in half. I want them to be all approximately the same size just for cooking. This one's too long. If you decide to make this, I would get, personally, I would get the tri-colored carrots. They're all around the same size. They're not baby carrots, but they're smaller. They're really beautiful. I've found them at Trader Joe's, if you have a Trader Joe's near you. And where else did I see them? Oh, my Sam's Club did not have them, but the Sam's Club that I went to in Florida did have them. So if you can find those, I think that those are beautiful for a recipe like this. This is 1 pound of carrots. If you're serving a lot of people, you definitely want to go at least 2 pounds. I'm gonna sprinkle these with about a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. You know what? I feel like if I group them together, the brown sugar will stay better. So let's do that. Let's just try it. We also need about 2 tablespoons of butter that I'm just gonna cut into little pats. Overall, we're gonna sprinkle with about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then you can choose to use pepper as well. I'm also gonna sprinkle with a touch of cinnamon, just about a 1/4 teaspoon or so, just a light dusting here. Your oven needs to be preheated to 350 degrees, and these are gonna cook for in between 50 and 60 minutes, but you want to turn them periodically. So 3 to 4 times throughout that cooking process. While my carrots are finishing up, we're gonna move over to the stovetop because we're gonna make some candied pecans that are gonna go on the top. I'm gonna add roughly a 1/2 cup of pecans to this baggie. Obviously, the more you're making, the bigger the recipe, the more pecans you would need. Now, just to break these up into smaller pieces, we're just gonna hit this with our meat mallet in the bag and you'll have pieces. I have a pan here with 1 tablespoon of butter. We are going to melt that butter before doing anything else. Since our butter is melted and it's a very low heat, by the way, I'm adding a 1.5 tablespoons of maple syrup and about a 1/2 tablespoon of brown sugar. We need to stir this together. Add in the pecans and stir. And the mixture is gonna start to thicken a little bit. So you're just gonna let these cook. It really only takes about 2 minutes. All right, I am turning my heat off. We are going to sprinkle with a little bit of coarse salt and just move this completely off the heat and set it to the side. I just tried one of these candied pecans. Like, I wanna make these and serve them to people. How do we make these into a dessert for Christmas? Because, whoa. Just be aware the brown sugar is gonna burn on the edges of your pan. That's okay. Once you take this out of the oven, transfer it to whatever serving dish you're gonna use. Now we're gonna top with the candied pecans that we made. And this is one of those where you just kind of have to crumble it on. I mean, if you let this cool long enough, it will harden completely and you'll be able to break it apart. But let me tell you, with that addition of salt at the end, it's perfection. Now we're gonna add some goat cheese crumbles to the top of this. Just enough to get that little taste of goat cheese. And finish the whole thing off with some fresh thyme. This is so pretty. Try these carrots with the candied pecans. The mixture of flavors here is so unique and so good. The carrots are sweet and so is the candied pecans, but then you also have that goat cheese that cuts the sweetness, and you have the thyme that gives it an herby flavor. This is very interesting and very good. It's also very unique for a Thanksgiving table. I would love this on a Thanksgiving table. Y'all, this is really good. And all those flavors work together so well. You guys have already heard me talk about how much I love our garden. This vertical gardening system for growing fruits and vegetables indoors all year long. We absolutely love having a garden, but before we had the garden system, we were really limited to just a couple of months per year during the growing season. The garden system uses a hydroponic technology and LED light systems, which creates the absolute best growing environment for your plants. It was actually designed to meet the needs of people who might not have gardening experience. Although I love gardening, I definitely need a little bit of help. And so the garden system actually provides an app-based personal assistant that walks you through everything you need. So it'll send you notifications, letting you know when it's time to trim your plants or deal with the root system of the plants or add water. So it ends up being perfect for people who feel like maybe they don't know exactly what they're doing when it comes to gardening. We absolutely love that we can grow and eat nutritional food that grows literally steps away from my kitchen. You can actually choose from over 60 fruits and vegetable seeds that are organically sourced and non-GMO. And you will grow your plants without any harmful pesticides. My favorite is definitely the herbs. You guys know we use those a ton anyway, so I love just being able to walk over to the garden system and clip off exactly what we need. You can unlock an exclusive offer from Garden right now by clicking the link in my description box. I personally love all the carb-filled sides of Thanksgiving. Let's be real, I'm here for the sides. However, sometimes I do like to see a little bit of freshness and greenery on my plate, and I think Thanksgiving is one of the perfect times to make an absolutely beautiful salad. So we are actually going to make an arugula, cranberry, pecan. It's gonna be beautiful. It's got some apples in it, super easy to put together. I mean, really, really easy, and it is beautiful. So I clipped some different types of lettuce off of my garden system. One of the main things I wanted though is arugula, because I feel like that little bit of a spicy lettuce is perfect for a recipe like this. So we're just going to cut this up a bit. So the main thing, like I said, arugula is what I wanted, which is right here. And you can leave those whole. I'm gonna cut them up just a bit, but you don't have to cut it too much. It's actually really pretty when the leaves stay whole like that. You guys have seen me use arugula in some orzo recipes before. It's one that we actually really enjoy as a family. And obviously, if you don't like arugula, spinach is a good substitute. It's not gonna have that bite, that spice to it. Now, I have an apple. Let's wash it. I think I bought Fuji apples, but we always take them out of the package and put them in our basket, so that's not the knife I want. So I'm not 100% sure, but Fuji, Gala, I think actually a green apple could be good in this too, just depending on the flavors that you enjoy. I'm gonna cut this into slices, and the reason I'm doing that versus dicing them is because the the pecans and the cranberries are both gonna be small, and I just feel like this offers a different, so that everything's not just little bite-sized pieces. It offers, what's the word I'm looking for? Different sizes, different shapes. There's a word for it. Say it in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. Dimension is the word I'm looking for, maybe? Okay, anyway, we're adding apples. And like I said, I'm just slicing it into pieces like this. Obviously, add as much or as little as you like. You can get the toasted pecans if you want, or you can toast them up yourself, or you can just put them on the salad raw, depending on what your preference is, what flavor profiles you enjoy, all that kind of stuff. So I'm breaking them up into pieces a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're adding some dried cranberries to this. Now you could make a huge version of this. I mean, however big you want. This could serve many people if you needed it to. So one thing that I think is a great addition to this is goat cheese crumbles, okay? You can leave it just like this right here and serve it with dressing, or you can add a cheese, and I think goat cheese pairs perfectly with all of these flavors. Now, I actually already have a dressing made up for this in the fridge. Should I make another dressing? You know what? We're gonna add to the dressing we already have. So you're gonna see that it's already made up, but let me just add to it so you can see how I make it. So we make our dressing homemade. It's just always available, almost always in our fridge. So we'll just add to this one, just pretend that this is empty, okay? You can absolutely just do a mixture of avocado oil, olive oil, something like that with a mixture of balsamic vinegar. That's perfect for this salad, but we like to add just a little bit more, okay? So we do oil. I also have this entire recipe on my website, so you can go there and get that because this is the one that we make the most common. I like to add red wine vinegar, maybe around a tablespoon. We add a touch of Dijon mustard, okay? Seems weird, trust me, it's good. You can also add a little bit of mayo if you want this to be a more creamy consistency than a vinaigrette. I love adding fresh thyme, so I just go pull some fresh thyme off of our garden and add that however much you want. You can add a lot of it if you want. And then whatever other dried spices you like. So maybe you want an Italian seasoning, maybe you want to add some fresh oregano or some dried oregano. None of it has to be fresh, but it's really good if you have it. And then add a touch of salt and then mix it all together. You can also do balsamic vinegar instead of red wine vinegar if you don't like that flavor. Mix it up and there you go. So easy, so good and so easy. Like I said, the goat cheese is completely optional, but I have it, so let's add it. And you don't need much, just a touch is good. I mean, goat cheese is a pretty potent, distinct flavor. So I really don't think you need to add too much, but oh man, it's so good. Then when you're ready to serve, you just pour your dressing over the top. It's delicious. I'm gonna give you guys a salad taste test, even though, I mean, I already know it's gonna be good. Let's get all the moving parts here. So let me be real with you. Traditionally, I am not a huge fan of fruit in salads, but it's mostly strawberries and raspberries. I don't know. I love strawberries and raspberries, but for some reason, they don't seem to go in salads for me. This is so good. You get the nice crunch from the lettuce, the crispiness, but you get the crunch from the apple too, and then the softness from the dried cranberries, and then the sort of a crunch, but not really a crunch from the pecans, and then that dressing, y'all. The flavors of this, it is bursting. This is, I mean, and it's so beautiful, so perfect for a Thanksgiving table. How gorgeous is this? Highly suggest this one. Now, I know everyone might not feel the same way that I do, but root vegetables are my favorite. I love a good root vegetable. We're gonna make a beautiful casserole, absolutely stunning. We've got some parsnip, sweet potato, I've got some beets. I think I actually also might add, I have red potato too. I wanna see what size they are because you kinda need them to be all the same size around. I'm gonna get these peeled up and ready to go so that we can slice them. I have decided to add some red, what's it called, potato, because my beets are yellow. So obviously I did not get red beets, and this is so pretty with that red color. So anyway, we're just gonna go with some red potato to add that red color. If you have a mandolin slicer, this is gonna go so fast, so fast. I do not, so here we go. Okay, I have everything separated out into separate bowls. We've got potato, sweet potato, parsnip, and beet. And then I took some thyme off of the garden, so we could add some thyme to each one. Now, if you don't have fresh thyme, obviously you can just add dried, but we do, and it is my favorite. So we're going to be adding a decent amount to each one. This thyme, I love how some of the leaves are a purple color. It actually makes a really beautiful garnish too because of the color in them. I love that. We are going to add about 4 tablespoons of heavy cream to each one of these. Wait, how many did I do in that last one? Just one? Now we need to season with salt and pepper, each one of these, and you want to add good seasoning. This is gonna be your main seasoning time right here, okay? So everything you add right here onto all these root vegetables, bringing out that amazing flavor. Okay, now we toss. We're gonna take the rest of that cream and pour at the bottom. You need about you're gonna use an oval, round dish, something like that. So about a 1/4 cup goes at the bottom. And then we wanna add some minced garlic, just about 1 clove. So I'm gonna add that and just kinda mix around. And I've got some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. We're gonna put about a 1/2 ounce or so, maybe a little more at the bottom. You know what I just realized? I skipped this step. Your Parmesan cheese is supposed to get tossed in with your root vegetables too. So we'll add about a 1/2 ounce or so to each one and toss it. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, so with your root vegetables, with each one, you need heavy cream, thyme, salt, pepper, and the Parmesan cheese. Let's just retoss those really quick. I'm gonna start with the beets. So we're just gonna stack them basically like so. So you're stacking up. Okay, I think I'm gonna do parsnip next. Stacking up. I would say just put them however you can fit them in your pan, but an oval pan is really beautiful with this. So if you have it, okay, I'm kind of pushing them in, getting them really tight so we can fit everything in here. You can also, if you're doing this in a big pan, you might wanna do beets, parsnips, sweet potatoes, beets, parsnips, sweet potatoes, like that kind of thing, so that you have a mixture. You can do it however you want. I want to stack these red potatoes tightly because I really wanna see that red. That was the main reason I even added the red potatoes. So I'm gonna stack them as tightly as possible so that kind of shows at the top. Let me know in the comments, are you a root vegetable fan? Like I said at the beginning, root vegetables are my favorite. They just have the best flavor. Okay, I'm gonna wipe the side of it because when this burns in the oven, it doesn't look quite as beautiful. I just took a little bit of the leftover marinade, the heavy cream and the Parmesan, and poured some out of one of the bowl on the top, just to make sure we have a good amount there. We do wanna season the top with a little bit more salt and pepper. Add some more Parmesan cheese to the top. Now we do have Gruyere cheese that's gonna go in this, just not quite yet. We have to bake it like this first, then we'll add the Gruyere. At this point, your oven should be preheated to 400 degrees. You're gonna cover this with foil and bake it for 30 minutes. Once those vegetables are fork tender at around the 30-minute mark, we'll take this out and add a little bit more. So good. We're taking the au gratin out of the oven. It's been in here for about 30 minutes. Let's remove the foil and see how we are. See how we're doing. Oh man. Okay, I feel like it needs more time. So I'm gonna actually put it back in and let it go for about 10 more minutes before the uncovered portion of this recipe, where we top it with Gruyere cheese. So let's cover that back again and go another 10 minutes. All right, so I think we're good now on the tenderness of this. I have about an ounce of Gruyere cheese. We're gonna add some Gruyere to the top here and then put this back in the oven for about 20 minutes. We're gonna leave it uncovered this time and let the cheese melt all over the top and even get a little brown. Root vegetable au gratin. All right, that was parsnip. Delicious. You guys, the flavors are this is better than any potatoes au gratin I've ever had. Excuse me while I go find a chair and take that whole thing over there with me. You can taste that Gruyere. All of these different root vegetables offer the best flavors. I mean, this is like a 2023 best of. The flavors are on point. And did you see how pretty it looks? Now, obviously, if you have those red beets, it's gonna even add another element of color. Stunning. I'm shocked by how good this is. You get that Parmesan and the heavy cream, so you have this like really rich sauce, but the fact that they're root vegetables tames it down a little bit so it doesn't feel overly heavy. This is really good. But if I need a quick recipe with stuffing mix, this is our favorite. The blue bag or the red bag, I don't know what the difference is. Oh, this is cubed and the other one's like crumbled. I'm gonna be using this pork that I just found. This is Niman Ranch, and I have purchased pork products from them in the past from the grocery store, and I have not seen this farmhouse one before. So we're gonna try it and see if we like it. All right, we have our heat on medium high. I am not adding any oil or anything to the pan. I just don't feel like it's necessary with the fat content in this. So we're going to cook it up. While I'm cooking this, I'm preheating my oven to 375 degrees, just so we can get that started. And I just took this out of the fridge, so it's really cold. All right, our sausage is done. I've separated that into 2 separate bowls so that we can use it for the different recipes. I washed this celery, and now we're gonna cut this up for this recipe. I just took some fresh thyme off of our garden, but if you don't have fresh thyme, that's completely fine. You can just use dried thyme, but I'm gonna add some to the celery. All right, I do not have any fresh rosemary right now, so we're gonna add some rosemary to this. Maybe, I don't know, ½ teaspoon or so. Let's take this over to the stove and we are gonna saute this up. Obviously, you can add onions into this if you're a fan of that. We're not adding onions, but you would wanna saute that together. I've still got some of the fat left in here from the sausage. I'm gonna saute the vegetables or the celery and the herbs in that. If you want to, you can saute in butter or oil if that's your preference. Makes it really easy since I already have that in there. And we're just gonna saute for a couple of minutes, letting it get nice and tender and bringing out all the flavors of those herbs. Another flavor that you may want to add in here is sage. While this is cooking, I do wanna add a bit of salt in here, just bring out those awesome flavors. It's maybe a ½ teaspoon or so. This already smells amazing. Now that this has been cooking for a few minutes and we're getting close to being done, I'm gonna add, that's a bit much. I'm gonna add about 1 clove of minced garlic and also let that saute. And you can cook this together with your sausage. Since I'm making 2 separate recipes, that's why I did it separate. I pulled the sausage out, but I mean, if you had it like this right here, that's also totally fine. We've got a good saute. Our oven is almost completely preheated, which is perfect timing. Add about 3-ish cups of this stuffing to this bowl. Oh, oven's ready. You could probably go up to 4 for this half recipe. You can go up to 8. I mean, you know, you can add however much you need to. I'm adding 1 cup of bone broth or chicken broth if that's your preference. Now remember, bone broth is gonna have less sodium in it, so you may end up feeling like you need to add a little bit of salt. All right, so we're just kind of rehydrating those stuffing cubes, those breadcrumbs. While that sits there for a second, I'm going to whisk 1 egg. Let's add in the sausage and the mixture that we made, the celery. The smell, it just smells so good. I think I'm gonna need a sturdier spatula to finish this off. Let's add in the 1 egg and stir to combine. I'm gonna spray my muffin tin really well. And I'm not sure how many we're gonna get yet out of this. I'm assuming we're gonna get 6, but I'm not 100% sure. And I'm gonna scoop out with my 4th cup measurer. And I think that's I think that's gonna be a decent size. I'm overfilling it a little, so maybe 1/3 cup would be perfect. Ooh, I bet you could add cheese in these too, and that would be good. Obviously, this is not revolutionary. It is just a different way to serve them so that, you know, I think this could be really pretty, especially on a Thanksgiving table. If you have a lot of these kind of set out and people can grab them rather than having it in a 9x13 dish, still a delicious stuffing, just in a different form. So like I said, my oven is preheated to 375 degrees. These are gonna bake for 25 to 30 minutes. We wanna watch and make sure they don't get too brown on the top. So I'll set my timer for 25 and then just kind of watch to see how it goes. All right, let's try these stuffing muffins. Take a little bite off of one of them, and that'll be mine at the table. We are serving from the table. I do think that if you're making these after Thanksgiving, maybe you have leftover stuffing and you make them into muffins, a gravy drizzled on the top would be really good. I mean, you could make a gravy and drizzle them on the top as you're making them before Thanksgiving, but I think that that would add this next level that would be really delicious. Okay, let me tell you why I love these so much. I love how when you make a stuffing in a pan, you get the edges get crispy, but you get like a nice center of it that offers a different texture, so it's not quite as crispy. These are crispy on the outside and on the top and soft on the inside, and I love that. I love the mixture of texture, and I'm a big fan of crusty bread, crispy bread, so I like having that on here as well. This is really good. I think I like this better than regular stuffing. Again, obviously it's the exact same thing. It's just the different textures that are available there. But the flavor, I didn't even comment on that. The flavor is delicious. These are very good. Our verse today comes from 1 John 4:7. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I also hope that you have a happy Thanksgiving. I will see you before Thanksgiving, but I just wanted to make sure that I said it here in this video. Also, if you need more Thanksgiving recipes, I have another video that has crock pot Thanksgiving recipes, which is gonna make it so easy for that day. I hope you have a great week.